Hey, I really hope my thumbnail and title didn't scare you too much. No, this is not gonna be a list of games that you shouldn't play, games that I guarantee will not get you viewers on Twitch. That doesn't exist. The conversation about games that you should play or games that you shouldn't play on Twitch is more deep than just a list of games. There are really no rules. A game that really doesn't work for you might work really well for someone else because of multiple factors, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I mostly want to have an open conversation. What I did recently is go to Twitter and ask, hey, are there some games that you feel like you get less viewers when you're playing them on stream? And honestly, a lot of the answers were pretty surprising. Usually when people ask that questions, Twitch gurus do their best to try to answer it by saying, or maybe don't play an oversaturated game, like a very popular game. Don't play that because you're gonna be too far down that list on Twitch. Or someone will tell you, hey, don't play retro old indie games because it's a little too niche. There's a total of 3 people that like watching it, and there's one other streamer that streams it and they get all the views. So you can already see how finding the correct balance can be kind of difficult with those things. So before we dive into the answers to my tweet, the questions that I have for you and my overall conclusion, as vague as it's gonna be, I would like to thank today's sponsor. And today's video is sponsored by Owned. Owned has the biggest library of overlay packs for both Twitch streamers and YouTube streamers. Owned basically provides you with everything you need to customize your channel. My favorite feature right now is the animated emote maker. You can use emotes that you already uploaded to Twitch, you can upload new emotes from your computer, or you can straight up make your own emotes from the website and use those to animate. And right now, you can get 50% off of all products if you log in into your own pro account. And simply logging in is completely free. I'll be sure to put a link in the description, but you can check it out over at owned.gg/GaelLevel. That is own3d.gg/GaelLevel. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at my tweet. So the question was pretty simple, but there is a specific type of information that I was looking for. I said, streamers, is there a specific game that you love but gets way less viewers when you stream it? The idea here is to find a game that streamers genuinely enjoy, because one of the advice that we hear a lot is play something that you love and it will shine through. And honestly, that's advice that I also give. But my experience as a streamer lets me know that sometimes you really love a game, but your audience is not receptive to it. So let's scroll down. Here we have Noobtoons that says Final Fantasy XIV. And to me, that was a surprise because I thought that that was her main game. Noobtoons is a friend of mine, and I thought that was her whole niche. I've watched her play this game for weeks, months. So to learn that she actually gets less views when she plays that is kind of heartbreaking, not gonna lie. Rich says, I like to play a lot of Fortnite, but I've noticed that it doesn't really draw a crowd. When I play Marvel Snap, I get more viewers. I think the game length has a lot to do with it. Easy to lurk with shorter content. So now this was really surprising because I feel like Fortnite is a game that is easy to understand even if you don't play the game. It's, you know, basic guns and that kind of stuff and shooting at each other. Whereas Marvel Snap is a card game with specific cards that do specific stuff and with specific animations and all that. And if you don't know each cards or what they represent and what they do, I feel like you wouldn't have any idea of what's going on. It's not a typical game, I would say. I have friends that play Marvel Snap and I never understand what's going on screen, even after it's explained to me. From my experience, when I play Fortnite, I seem to get more engagement because there's more people in my audience that actually play the game and understand the game and are not necessarily passionate, but more involved in the game in general. So I expressed that and he elaborated that Marvel was free and it's like Pokemon, and basically the matches last a couple of minutes and you can explain your thoughts as you go. GamerGlow here says, Overwatch, lol, but that's to be expected with a well-known game with a lot of popular streamers. Now, is she correct in saying that? Does she get less viewers because the game is popular? I probably should have asked, what is your least viewed games and what are your top games, to really have the contrast. Dark Qualza says Hollow Knight, as well as some old school games. I'm not surprised for the old school games because there's just not popular enough for people to want to watch them, or some people are really attached to graphics and stuff like that. There's a lot of young people that are viewers on Twitch and all that. That's how I try to explain it in my head. But Hollow Knight seems like a really cool game. It has great aesthetic and it seemed to be easy to understand. So I'm surprised that some people get less views while streaming Hollow Knight. SVG Panda says Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, FIFA 23, and Dota 2. So I asked, do you feel like FIFA and Dota are very niche? Like mostly the streamers who are very deep into them will get all the viewers, because I know that the FIFA crowd is huge and streamers get a ton of viewers when they stream FIFA, but to be fair, I feel like those streamers that I'm thinking about when I think of successful FIFA streamers, they only do FIFA. They're very, very niche. It's gonna be streamers that are going to be opening their versions of loot boxes, which is cards or something like that. It's people that are very, very only focused on the FIFA community and only do FIFA. I'm not quite sure about Dota 2 because I've never really watched it, but I kind of feel like it's the same thing. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel feels like such a particular game that I can kind of understand people not necessarily wanting to watch a lot of it. It's really hard to explain. It's really hard to tell why a game will get less viewers, like, and be 100% sure. This is the part that has to do with content creation where you have to figure that out for yourself. No one else is gonna give you the answer, right? Now, maybe if I knew the person personally, and if I watch their content and I know their attitude, their online persona and how it matches with this specific game, or how much work they're putting in behind the scenes to be really part of that game's community and stuff like that, maybe I would be able to advise a little bit, but I still wouldn't be able to really pinpoint what to do, what to play, and what's wrong with it. Here's one that I personally relate to from April. I always get low viewership on the Telltale Walking Dead games, but I didn't mind. I played through that whole thing for me and the few who would still sit and go through the journey with me. Such a good game. I did that too. I played the whole Telltale Walking Dead game on stream and I had very, very low viewership. I still did it. The game is good and immersive enough. It is kind of surprising. I don't know if it's really the deep storytelling aspect of it that makes people maybe not want to watch because eventually they want to play it, so they don't want spoilers, or is it less good of content because the content creator has less time to actually be active and entertaining because there's so much going on screen, so many characters. It's like watching a movie together. Those are all possibilities. Here Bongo says it's been a hit or miss, but I would say Valheim. Absolutely love the game, and especially playing it modded, it's brilliant. I have some experience with Valheim, and yes, when you play alone or if I'm playing with a friend on Discord and just with that friend and we're just doing our thing, people seem to disconnect. People seem to not necessarily want to watch that because, I don't know, it's not engaging enough. But when I stream Valheim and I make it some sort of event that anyone from chat can join, it becomes more interesting. Basically, those are the ways that I found to make Valheim interesting. If you don't know, it's kind of like a survival Viking-ish type of game. And what I would do is create a brand new world and have a bunch of people from chat create a new character, and we would all start from scratch and try to kind of speed run the game, and then shenanigan would ensue.
Oh, what was that noise? Oh,
and it's pretty interesting, and it gets chat hyped, motivated, curious to watch what will happen as I play with people that I don't necessarily know. I'm not saying if you do that, you're gonna get views guaranteed, but that worked for me. I didn't get the highest amount of views I've ever gotten, but it was more engaging than the normal Valheim content, like watch me build a house, you know? Jay Scoot says, Paladins, most fun hero shooter out there. Whole category is lucky to have 1K viewers at this point. Paladins, is that the, I don't know, call it the ripoff, but is that the Overwatch like type of game? Oh yeah, it is. It's always been kind of in my opinion, it's always been regarded as ripoff Overwatch, which, well, it's not really, it's its own game that you can play. I believe it's free to play, and I feel like Overwatch's success probably had to do with it. Again, that's me trying to grasp at straws to explain things, which doesn't really matter because we can't really find the answer. I'm surprised that it died that much, but it's true that I never heard of it. So it sucks that someone who would enjoy playing Paladins all the time as a streamer really feels like playing this quote-unquote dead game but doesn't get any growth from it because the game is not getting any growth. Simpler Time says, yep, The Sims, but when I want to play The Sims, I'm gonna play The Sims. Viewers are not. Sims also feel like a very niche thing. I may be completely wrong. Those are games that I don't necessarily play, so I don't know how the community is. But I'm pretty sure every time I've seen someone with a lot of views, for example, with playing The Sims, it was a Sims creator, basically. It was the whole niching down. Of course, there's no weird agenda here to be like, you have to niche down. We all know that niching down can only help, most of the time at least, for most categories, but I'm basically expressing my feeling based on what I'm reading. For example, Live Open Mike says every VR game that isn't Beat Saber or VR chat, and that is surprising to me because I have friends, as soon as they turn on VR chat, they basically lose at least engagement. They don't necessarily lose viewers, but everyone just stops talking in chat. In my case, I'm a variety streamer still. Every time I put the headset on, usually I lose engagement, so I resorted to basically telling people, hey, I'm putting this on my face, I can still see chat, I can still read chat. It's just like me reading the screen, except it's on my face. And I've gotten more engagement since I started doing this. But in this case, it's every game that isn't Beat Saber, whereas Beat Saber is kind of like Just Dance. So people aren't necessarily engaging with this streamer because it's very much watch me do this thing. Hey, I'm gonna put a 4-minute song and I'm gonna be beating sabers with it. So it kind of surprises me that you would get more viewers when you're playing Beat Saber. VR Chat, that being said, is a pretty popular VR game, especially since there's a lot of people on desktop that can also play the game. It's always been kind of popular, kind of niche on Twitch, but I definitely see it as a game where you can experience some growth. Now, you need to kind of infiltrate the community in some sorts. There are different groups. It's a whole thing. VR Chat is its own world. Here we have mostly Fortnite and Monster Hunter Rise. Surprising. Fortnite is one of the only games where I get pretty much the same amount of engagement and viewership on my channel. I feel like Fortnite is a good game to stream for me. Anything VR for the most part anyway, which I definitely understand if you're a variety streamer and you're used to, especially if you do just chatting and then you usually play games. As soon as you put that headset on, there's a weird effect for people who are not necessarily here for VR games to just start lurking or just leave straight up. Because visually they see you with something on your face and they feel like, okay, you're not gonna pay me enough attention for me to stay. All right, my real conclusion when it comes to that kind of stuff, where are you gonna find success? What is gonna happen to give you success? It's always, you have to figure it out. It's the biggest part of creating content, is to figure out what your specific audience wants. But it's weird because you have to figure out what type of audience you want in the first place. You have to come up with a target audience. Once you start getting them, you need to find out things about them that they don't know about themselves. You can't just do a poll. You can't be like, hey, what kind of content would you love to see? Because most of the answers you're gonna get are wrong. People are gonna be like, we really wanna watch this, and you're gonna make this, and they're not gonna watch it. And you're gonna be back to square one, figuring out what people love. It's literally your job, technically. So when I say it depends on your stats, multiple stats that you're supposed to have in order to have a perfect balance that goes with a specific game. Maybe you have a cozy type of personality. So personality has its own stats, so coziness, energy, enunciation, and all that type of stuff. What kind of background music you play. Basically your online persona plus the atmosphere of the stream plus this specific game and the community that enjoys watching this game. I don't want you to stress too much about trying to figure this thing out. We would have to put like some sort of weird skill tree where you can only unlock a couple of things that go together and some of them don't go together basically. It's not something that we can really write down like an exact science. It is the science of people. It can go anywhere. So that's why we keep being surprised by all those answers. That's why we will have a friend that will gain a lot of success with something, and when we try the same strategy, it just doesn't work for us. But to be a little clearer and not necessarily talk about a huge skill tree, I want to talk about the things that we know might, the things that we think, the things that we really feel might affect the amount of success that we find in certain video games. Niche is definitely gonna be the first one. Are you just streaming that game? Are you a part of the community that is diehard fans of that game? Games like Dark Souls, for example, you start playing Dark Souls. If you stick to Dark Souls, you're gonna be pretty good. Of course, that doesn't exempt you from the good old, hey, you have to make content on the side and all that. You have to become that Dark Souls person. So we're talking about extreme niching down, I guess. That is definitely gonna help you. If you're a variety streamer that dabbles into certain games that have this cult following and things like that, I personally feel like you're not gonna see any growth like that because you're not part of that community wholeheartedly. Again, this is an open discussion. I want to hear your opinion on that in the comment section below. So after niche, I would say your persona in general, your energy, if you will, especially if you're a variety streamer, right? Maybe you're a very energetic person playing Apex and it's very entertaining to watch because you put in situation where you have to make split-second decisions and all that, and it matches high energy, high octane gameplay and all that stuff, right? And then when you dabble into Animal Crossing the next day, even if you become a little more cozy, maybe you're not good at being the cozy streamer, right? And maybe the audience that you already gathered just don't vibe with the cozy side of yourself, or it's just because you showed them a way more entertaining version for them of yourself that they'll just come back when you're back on Apex. So niche, personality, and of course the game. I do believe that there are certain games that are gonna be harder, as in super retro games that no one has ever heard of, you're gonna have a hard time because we're talking about retro games. It's hard for a lot of, especially young people to see a game and be like, wow, I'm gonna sit down and try to figure it out. I know people that as soon as they see a couple of pixels on screen, they're like, this is not for me, I'm not gonna watch this. This looks awful, right? Unless we're talking about specific games that already had some sort of a following. Games like Stardew Valley, for example. If you start streaming Stardew Valley and you really get into it, right? You don't dabble into everything. I feel like its popularity will actually help you with growth right now. But if you play a game like Buck Bumble 64, yeah, you probably never heard of it. Just the fact that people are not familiar with it might make them not want to watch. The idea here is to think about games that are seeing exponential growth. A game like Dead by Daylight, for example, is a very accessible game. Think about it. On Twitch, there's a lot of Dead by Daylight streamers. Some of them are super popular. Most of them are not. That's just Twitch. But it feels like a game that you can get into and you'll still get viewers. You will get viewers that play the game or just are used to watching other people play the game. Whereas if you start streaming Super Mario on the N64, you might get a couple of viewers, but most of the category on Twitch are used to watching like speedrunners, right? People who play at a high level in a way. It's a good game. A lot of people love it, but is it accessible? Am I welcome in the community in a way as a casual? So those are things that you need to think about and to not discourage because, okay, I give you the honesty. Hopefully I put a little humor in there to give you the hope. As a variety streamer, I don't want you to be discouraged at all. I'm not saying give up all the games. First of all, yes, if you really want to do streaming like full time and things like that, you want to be professional, you're going to have to do some sacrifices. That's going to happen. You might have to just play your favorite game off stream and just have fun. You don't have to stream everything. But for variety streamers, my advice would be to try to really think about your online persona, the vibe you give, if you will, the games you enjoy that you feel match really well with that, and of course take into account the information of what are the games that seem to give me the most viewers, and ultimately try to stick to a certain category of video game. If your thing is cozy games, you can play a whole variety of cozy games. If your thing is FPS shooters, you can play a whole variety of FPS shooters. If your thing is story games, you can play a whole, you know where I'm going with this. So as much as making a video where I would be like, oh, top 5 games that you shouldn't stream on Twitch. Oh, I went to Twitch Strike and it told me that this game doesn't get a lot of viewers, so this game is bad. This game is good. I would probably get a bunch of views if I did that, but at least I can say that I made an honest version of this. You have to figure it out. You really have to figure it out. You have to test it. At some point when I was streaming Apex, I had like an Excel sheet where I was writing down the categories that I would stream on there, the games that I played on stream, at the time where I would start, just so I can test different games, the reception that they get, and also the best time frame for me with my current audience. And then I stopped doing that because it's, again, you're not supposed to put this on paper. It's not supposed to be math. It's supposed to be sociology or psychology, if you will. Just a reminder that factors outside of you just streaming the game still applies. That depends. Are you posting, I don't know, your clips on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and things like that? All of that is going to affect your viewership. So don't stress too much about it, but just know that, hey, if we're thinking about this specific thing where it's like you play this game, you get a bunch of viewers, you play that game, and for some reason your viewers don't show up, maybe all of the things that we just talked about is something to consider. But anyways, talking about all this Twitch streaming stuff, you should definitely follow me on Twitch. I'm trying to stream more and more often. This Friday, aka February 10th, 2023, I'm doing a very special stream sponsored by Adobe where I'm going to show you a full streamer workflow. I'm going to basically teach you how to create a bunch of stuff that are going to be useful for your stream in just a couple of minutes. But also, I'm going to be giving away a bunch of games. I'm going to be giving away money, something like $50 every 30 minutes. So you definitely don't want to miss it. Alrighty, all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I definitely want to hear your own opinion in the comment section below. Please let me know what you think about this whole stuff. I even want to know if you think it's even worth thinking about. Do you think you should just do your thing? But again, my videos are for people who want to do this professionally. I don't really make content for people who just do it as a hobby. I understand that if you do it as a hobby, you might want to look, how can I do it better? That's completely fine. My problem is that you can't complain or you can't contradict me with the practice of a hobby. A hobby is, to me, it's something that is fun that you do on your off time. Just do it. No one should tell you how to do your hobby. So the question is, as a professional, do you feel like those are things that should be on your mind? Things like, oh, should I niche down? Or does my personality match the game that I play or the overall vibe of the stream? I think it's interesting. I'll see you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Go out there, make me proud, get level, out.